It's my birthday. I'll leave it there for now. You know those moments where you want to jump out of your own skin? Just me? I've been having a lot of those recently. My brain is moving faster than my body. Faster than the physics of our universe seem willing to allow. I want to go faster. Sometimes, you want to jump out of your own skin, just to get away from yourself. The feeling of being trapped inside your own operating system can get overwhelming. Reality can be stifling. You can't start a thing. You can't finish a thing. You prioritize to no avail. You borrow from tomorrow to pay for today. You rush through everything. You delay everything. Then you delay so long, the thing starts glowing at you from across the room. Whatever the thing is, often it's delaying checking in and resolving something with yourself. But I'll put just about anyone above me on the list. Cue the world's tiniest violin. I'm not looking for empathy, though I'm sure I'll derive some. I imagine a bunch of us turn into these self-deprecating humans when we have kids. Like we subconsciously think, it's over for me, but they are a fresh start. And then you start living vicariously at best. You save the banal stuff for yourself. Make an appointment. Look into something. Clean something. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're experiencing some version of this yourself. I've been feeling tense lately, or stumped. Like I need to be productive, but not in a hamster wheel kind of way. More in a way that doesn't exhaust me physically, but gratifies me mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Having small kids kind of strips away all the you time. I don't think I need to explain how. It simply does. For a while, anyway. You strap in and weather it. Your weekends, they're childhood memories. They're emotional blueprint. And we don't need to guilt trip ourselves by quantifying how much more important that is than our own selfish desires. For your shelved hobbies, healthy habits, peace of mind. I don't want to make it sound like I'm bitter. My kids and the family they gifted me, simply by existing, are my greatest achievement. But there was also a me wearing a different hat once upon a time. Actually, 4 or 5 hats. Each came with a personality. One of them, a beanie. I would pour myself into projects, and the coolest part, I used to finish them. I used to get props. I used to get inspired and inspired. But now, well, it's one foot in front of the other. It's a different journey. More than anything, I don't want to catch myself waiting for some future season where life becomes easier. I don't want to get trapped, looking for payoff. No. I'm in this. I am in it now. And I'm someone's rock. That's the season. I have, however, found this format to infuse some creativity back into my life. Writing and drawing are finally back on my radar. It's becoming therapy. Whether anyone listens, whether anyone likes the doodles or the animation, this is waking up a few dormant neuron connections again. It feels pretty nice. Maybe it's more like a pressure release valve. The artist inside me dusted herself off and And now she's standing at the door, peering through a keyhole into a world where she can thrive again. A little Alice in Wonderland. And I don't mean that motherhood erased me. Identity evolves. Things get rearranged. Some things become more important. Some things become less important. Some things go into storage. But what nobody prepared me for was not disappearance. It was mutation. That's the word. Mutation. Because I still recognize myself. Mostly. But sometimes I look at myself reacting to something tiny and think, wow, who is this? Are you still you? Where's your current location? Are you still a self-proclaimed rock star? Artist? A perfect 1950s housewife mom? Okay, I was never going to swing that far. But how do I actually want to be for my kids? There's this caricature in my head of the perfect mom archetype. Very calm, very emotionally regulated, very ground oatmeal instead of white flour. Smells faintly of almond milk and expensive hand soap. Not me. I don't want to say I'm the opposite of that, but I don't exactly look like a Lucy, or Elma, or Ruth, as much as I like those names. I think I drifted somewhere between ragey, sassy asshole and obsessive system manager. Traits that in another context I would associate with a very cool boss lady. One that's surprisingly down to earth when she leaves the office, which is what makes it not severe enough to concern anyone. I've started seeing traits that I'm not particularly trying to demonstrate to my kids as examples of how to move through life. And the annoying part is, these traits were always there. But now there's less buffering. I tell myself, at least I'm reliable, level-headed, honest, sincere. But hormones are tripping me up. And I'm not comparing myself to anyone dealing with severe postpartum struggles. But your hormones do stay weird for years after having a baby. We all know that. Mine are currently spazzing around in my bloodstream. Sometimes they amplify the comforting moments. Sometimes they create very convincing propaganda. And then consider multiple pregnancies back to back. I'm entering year 4 of chemical reactions and mysterious malfunctions. But it's cool. Excellent. At some point you stop asking, am I tired? And start wondering, is this just my personality now? I try to squeeze little injections of what I used to define as pre-mom normal. Meaningful artistic projects. Conversations that don't revolve around kids or house chores. Collaborations. Building things. Feeling mentally sharp. That one I occasionally practice with a book. All I know is it feels like having a yawn stuck in your throat and chest. Except instead of a yawn, it's yearning. And I'm trying to do myself some favors. Let it unravel naturally. Because I think maybe I moved too fast last time after my second. Actually, no. I know I did. I went back to work when he was 9 months, which isn't early compared to what some people are forced into. I know that. But my nervous system apparently did not receive the memo. At the time, it felt logical. I thought I had an opportunity to get ahead. Career-wise, financially, for all of us. And on paper, beautiful. Home office, partner with the baby. Everything contained. Very modern. Very optimized. Very reasonable. But there's something strange about stepping directly out of infancy. Your brain feels permanently open. And then immediately entering a work environment that asks for output, decisions, speed, professionalism, restraint. Those two worlds collided. Nobody exploded. but I do think I'm still paying the price. Ideally, we'd all take care of our babies according to our own comfort level. But reality has opinions. I only know a few new parents that wanted to jump right back into old life after bringing the most precious, brand new thing into the world. No judgment. I understand people. But for a bunch of us, it doesn't feel innate. And the contradiction of wanting to be your baby's center while also wanting to remain your own person, that one doesn't untangle cleanly. Modern motherhood has impossible marketing. Be nurturing, be healthy, be understanding, be emotionally available, be attractive, be a wife, be a planner, be financially useful, be grateful, be fulfilled. Anyway, today happened to be my birthday. Did I mention? Which means nothing, and apparently means enough that my subconscious decided to stage an emotional coup. Because birthdays are funny. You think you're reflecting on age, but half the time you're actually reflecting on expectation. By this year, maybe I thought I'd be more secure, more healthy, more free. Instead, I seem to have accumulated a pile of feelings and left them in storage. And today, for reasons I wasn't expecting, something opened. I wasn't trying to have a day. I wasn't sitting there waiting to feel. I think a lot of people imagine that if they don't process something immediately, it disappears. My stuff doesn't disappear. Mine goes into storage, labeled. And then days later, I open one of the drawers and I am shattered over something I technically already knew. An artist who meant a great deal to me and had a profound impact on my psyche passed away. Very tragically, unexpectedly, at the pinnacle of his career. And when I saw it, I remember thinking, no way, that's crazy. And the way it happened. And then close the tab. Life goes on and on, because there were toddler-sized fires that needed to be put out first, and then off to the races second. At risk of sounding ambiguous, children required maintenance. Life continued with absolutely no regard for my emotional scheduling, and I knew with full certainty I'd come back to it, like putting leftovers in the fridge. Not because I wanted to ignore it, I just knew there wasn't enough silence available, and apparently today became the silence. So I started reading, watching interviews, reading what people had to say, and every new thing made me feel more intensely. It all started to accumulate, because the more I discovered, the more I was pulled into the world he created, manifested. The more content I consumed, suffocating under my blanket in the dead of the night in an attempt to not wake the baby. The more synchronicities I discovered that made my head spin and my insides vibrate. He was an incredible visual performer, artist, storyteller, director, musician, comedian, did his own stunts, and was an extreme sportsman. But even after all of those accomplishments, he was extremely humble. There's a lesson in there. Yeah, I spiraled a bit, I'll admit. I felt this angsty sorrow in my chest, like I used to in my teenage years, when it was easy to confuse extreme emotions. I felt inspiration and awe and terrible sorrow simultaneously. My atoms are still confused. When I first discovered him, I had a fresh new baby, and I remember being intrigued and lighthearted whenever I saw his interviews and first few hits. I would cradle my baby in that newborn haze and earnestly tap my foot and sing the same 3 words of the most catchy chorus you've ever let slip into your mind without even realizing. I appreciated him. He lifted my spirits, even when putting on a persona we tried to avoid in high school was palatable. But I never got too deep back then. I had barely the time to use conditioner, so you can imagine. Fast forward to now. Initially, I was in shock about the circumstances of how it happened, but almost as soon as the how got addressed in my subconsciousness, the who started to infiltrate into my heart. The tide was filling in slowly. I saw morning coming in on the horizon, and I knew that pretty soon I would be ears deep. Very quickly afterwards, I started thinking about when he played his last note, sang his last lyrics, directed his final shoot. I feel like I arrived after the credits. I felt a lot. There was this consistency in how people described him. Incredibly hardworking, immensely talented, hilarious, kind, down to earth, creativity unhinged. Sometimes you can feel a philosophy leak through somebody's work. They reveal themselves better than any straight-on answer. The choices. It was intention. Everything felt carefully constructed while pretending not to be. The branding. The calculated absurdity. Expression deserved that much effort. I'm sure long-format films were around the corner. His larger-than-life presence. The intelligence behind every stunt. Every video was a glimpse into a universe he created, and this universe had its own rules. It was just so damn cool. And in this grief, I still feel an immense respect and gratitude to him for being the inspirational artist that he was. And in some way, it almost feels like he's now giving me the push I needed. I just wish it didn't take this tragedy to slap me back into reality, and that he was still with us. The world lost a legend, and way too early. That electric energy still resides, forever, trailing behind him. I could go on, but I might cry. And though my kids have been initiated by the music and the few select videos, Mama needs to stay stable and save the tears for a quiet night under my blanket. He was just so special, so very, very special and one of a kind. So rest in peace, Oliver Tree. And I thank you in advance for jolting a drowsy part of me awake. Thanks for reminding me that art and expression is important. And you do it for yourself, first and foremost. Don't let anyone blow that light out. It's definitely bittersweet and backwards to get your heart broken first and then fall into it second, in real life and in different circumstances. And this is kind of like that, but, you know, in a completely sane way. So, I've been working through all that. And then I start drawing my attention inwards and applying all these new revelations to my own ego. Because before becoming mom, I made things. I collaborated. I built. Ideas existed in my head. Then, just like that, growing up caught up. Got a job. The ideas still existed, but changed form. Now, a group of people with slightly more serious implications sat in rooms, moved things around, pointed at references, argued, and suddenly there was a thing, a different animal. But I wasn't mad at it. That used to feel ordinary. The next chapter led me here, and now I spend a surprising amount of time trying to squeeze myself into schedules instead of building things inside them. Industry got weird. Opportunities got scarcer. Children arrived. Priorities mutated. Not disappeared. Mutated. That word still feels correct, because the desire never left. It just became less practical, less obvious, almost embarrassing. Like, what do you mean you want uninterrupted hours to draw and to play music? You want to write? So cute. Look around. Someone needs socks. Someone needs documents. Someone's making weird breathing sounds. And suddenly your creative identity starts feeling indulgent, even though logically you know it isn't. And maybe that's the part of what untangled today. Not consuming. Creating. I miss obsessing. I miss overthinking typography. I miss changing one thing 12 times until it feels perfect. I miss sitting in a room with creative people and hearing somebody say initially something so stupid, and after some back and forth, it becoming so brilliant. I miss caring too much. And I think that's partly why I'm doing this. Not because I have a foolproof strategy. Not because this becomes a channel. This feels more like starting to pinch off breadcrumbs. Like proving to myself I still participate. That I still exist. Creatively. Even if the scale changed. Even if the medium changed. Even if now I'm recording thoughts while stepping over tiny shoes, dragging a comb through my knotted hair, reheating bitter coffee that probably started growing its own ecosystem by now. Earlier today, I squeezed a nap in, which sounds irrelevant, but it wasn't, because I never nap. I could hear work notifications, messages, laundry, dishes, life tapping on the glass. But I pulled the blanket over my head and disappeared for an hour. And when I woke up, I had that weird post-nap feeling, like you accidentally traveled. Everything looked slightly off. Light, different, house colder, body confused, and for 30 seconds, I forgot the date. Forgot responsibilities, and then it all loaded back in, one by one, like tabs reopening. And after that familiar feeling where free time reveals itself for 6 seconds and immediately gets claimed before I ever had a chance to assign it to myself. Which honestly, fine, nothing new. But later in the evening, my youngest started making sounds. And if you know, you know. Parents get trained. You hear frequencies, tiny changes, breathing, cough, energy. You start collecting patterns. Meanwhile, he's running around completely happy, acting deeply unconcerned, which amplifies the drama that is to come. You have an out-of-body experience, staring at the situation unfolding with unsettling buzzing. But I knew. And we've done this before. So suddenly, I'm packing an entire mini bedroom arsenal. Objects that hopefully we won't even have the time to use because we'll be out in a jiffy. Hospital bag logic is insane. Half survival kit, half entertainment center, and then we roll the clip. Taxi, check-in, observation, puffers. 4 hours. And needless to say, pediatric emergency rooms are a little unsettling. Because everybody is trying to make childhood continue, while quietly being deeply preoccupied with your little one. And there I was, dim room, holding my baby while periodically betraying him for treatment, trying to rebuild trust every 20 minutes, watching him get abruptly pulled out of slumber over and over again. And I remember thinking, right, this is still the center. Not my age, not my career, not my artistic longing. This tiny, wheezing person. And weirdly, that thought didn't feel tragic, just very clear. And maybe that's what today actually was. Not a crisis, not a revelation, just a bunch of drawers opening at once. And me realizing I probably can't keep putting things in storage forever. We got back home relatively early. Actually, surprisingly early. Only 4 hours on the emergency versus 9-ish on a few occasions in the past. His oxygen level was back where we wanted it. Lungs soothed, coughing diminished. All is well. He is fine. And I am fine because he is fine. The next morning, my oldest ran through the doors straight towards the baby and gave him this huge hug, and they stood there holding each other, rubbing backs, little taps, like they were communicating in some language older than words. And I took a mental picture, because this is exactly what I needed to see. My munchkins loving on one another. That's what keeps me going. So while I told the artist inside me to wait a little longer on the sidelines, it's damn worth it. So, happy birthday to me indeed, for being here to witness this. Because in the end, that's what it all boils down to. We create art in many forms, to express ourselves, to inspire others. And even though I'm going to make a stride toward that again in my own slightly selfish ways, I think the warmth and growing admiration my kids have for one another is exactly that too. Its own art, and it's beautiful to see.